Hi there, welcome to Two for Tuesday. I'm Mo McClanahan and I am the Director of Education and Training with Safe Surfing Foundation. I'm also an investigator with the Christiansburg Police Department where I work internet crimes against children. Now, for those that are just joining us, Two for Tuesday is a live event where I share some tips on how to better safeguard your children while we are living in this crazy world with advanced technology and our children are spending more time on screens, whether it be through school, distance learning, virtual learning, or just, playing games and socializing with their friends as they are online. And I've been coming at you for the last couple months, sharing some of the things that are in the news when it comes to issues with apps or things to look for when your children might be being groomed by somebody. And then I come at you with tips on how to better monitor, safeguard them. And tonight, I really want to talk about what I shared in the post from yesterday. If you didn't see on our feed, I talked about being a good neighbor. Yesterday was actually National Good Neighbor Day, and I thought it was very appropriate to talk about the really tough topic of whether or not to tell. And honestly, it's difficult for both children and adults to really make that decision when either a friend is doing something that they probably shouldn't be doing online, or when it comes to somebody else's children or your own. And that's a really, tough thing to deal with. And I just want to be here with you to kind of walk you through why it is a good idea to report it, to tell somebody, and why you should have the conversation with your children when it comes to telling on their friends, where it's no longer about being a tattletale, that this is so different when it comes to online activity, when it comes to child predators online. They know what they're doing and they will manipulate your child into believing that what they're doing isn't wrong. And then before you know it, it goes to the next level. I talked about a case that I worked several years ago when I had a group of parents notify the police department that their children had a friend who was talking to a male on through chat apps. They had met through Minecraft, and as they were developing this relationship, they soon kind of took it to the next level. Initially, the boy said that he was 17 and the young lady was 13. And so as they built this relationship, he eventually disclosed that he was actually 27. And she never told her parents. So over the year and a half that they were friends, the parents believed him to be a 17-year-old boy who had a troubled home. And so he worked at night in order to pay for his apartment, but also went to school. And so he developed a relationship with the parents as well. When the young lady had told her friends that he was coming to visit from another country, the friends got really scared for her because they actually knew his real age. So they told their parents that he was an adult. And when the parents told the young lady's parents, they didn't believe them. They just thought that the girls were being petty and that they were jealous of this relationship and that they were just tattling. And it wasn't to anybody's fault that they believed that. They were manipulated just as he had manipulated the young lady through this relationship. So when I came to their home and I told them why I was there, they were very forthcoming and they said, we actually have a picture of his ID that tells us who he is. And so we believe everything that, he's been telling us. So when they showed me the picture of the ID, can you guess what was missing that would identify his true age? And that was the year of birth. And this family, they were, they're just a really strong Christian family. They had developed a relationship with him like a son, and they really felt for him, or felt, had a heart for him and his situation. And so they gave me some more details about him, and I went ahead and started my investigation, and I was able to identify him pretty quickly through the information they had given me through like mailing address and some phone numbers. And sure enough, I was able to identify him as a 27-year-old male in Canada. From there, I spoke to the young lady and asked her, what kind of a relationship this was. And she was kind of hesitant to really share, just said that they were kind of dating, but of course, they had never met each other in person. But the parents believed that they were just like best friends. So she was very hesitant to really disclose much on that first visit. As I discovered more information about him and I actually spoke to him on the phone, he played this role that he was really worried about the young lady, who is, again, 13 and him 27, that he had pictures of her, naked pictures of her on his devices because he wanted to prove that he wasn't the one that was taking them, that she was taking these pictures, and he was concerned about it. And so I took that information and I contacted ICE in Canada, and they were able to take my information and really open up their own investigation. They did a search warrant on his home based on his statements that were made, and also statements made by the young lady when I went back to interview her a little bit more. She started to disclose and talk a little bit more about the relationship, how he had been manipulating her and really emotionally abusing her over the year, just kind of breaking her down to believe that he's the only one that cares about her. And so she shouldn't be spending time with her family or with her friends. And he was actually sending her naked images of himself and then peer pressuring her to send them back to him. And the parents had no idea that any of this was going on, and the child really didn't feel safe, disclosing that. And she really thought it was part of a real relationship because she had never been in one. And so once we got that recorded interview, sent that off to Canada, they used that to get into his home. They found plane tickets for him to come to Virginia, and then also, grabbed his passport and his cell phone. Through the search warrant, they were able to confiscate and discover the naked images of the child on his device. And then they took over the investigation. And I love sharing this story, and I've had permission from the young lady to share this story, because if it weren't for her friends telling on her, then who knows what would have happened. Because imagine this man is coming from Canada, from a whole nother country, and say, the parents allow them to walk down to the store in a small community, and maybe he has somebody with a vehicle close by, and that would be the last time they'd see their little girl. And that is not far-fetched of a story or of an outcome to our area, as we have had a 13-year-old who was murdered. It was probably a year after this case. And she was met somebody online who was an adult and was brutally murdered here in our community. And so anything is possible. And as the story of Nicole Lovell had made light, then some of her friends, they do feel bad because they didn't know the specifics of her story or who she was contacting, but she did know that she was speaking to adults online. And telling could have easily have saved her, or at least got us involved prior to her being lured out of her home that night. And that is definitely a message that I continue to share with both adults and children. I have cases even with parents that aren't sure if they should even be reporting situations with their own children, whether they're afraid of the backlash or what it's going to do to their relationship. I always encourage that. Wouldn't you rather them be alive and have them be mad at you than not be here with us? And so I just want to encourage you guys to still have those conversations with your children. Have conversations that they feel safe in telling if their friend or a family member is either receiving inappropriate messages or talking to people that they shouldn't be talking, that this is not a form of tattletale. When it comes to online activity, we all need to be a good neighbor and we need to be looking out for each other, because some people just don't know. They don't know what the dangers really look like anymore. It's so different than when, like, my generation was growing up. We didn't have electronics like that, for quite some time until we were an adult. And so we need to go back to the whole mentality that it takes a village and just look out for each other and know the dangers. Communicate with our children about the dangers and why you are safeguarding them through being very strict on electronic use, on screen time, and that they need to do the same for their friends as well. So thanks for joining me tonight. Again, I come on here on Tuesdays, 7 p.m. EST. To share either something that's going on in the news, something that is important to know that's dangerous for your children when it comes to online activity. I share tips. If you have questions, we will definitely get back to you. And if you have a topic that you would like for me to cover at another time, then please send a DM and let us know. If this is something that would help one of your friends to just have this message, I know sometimes it helps coming from somebody else. Please share this. This will be in our IGTV. So make sure you share this broadcast. Again, hope you have an amazing night. Thanks for joining us for 2 for Tuesday, and we'll see you next week.